Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show. I'm your host, Bob Waltonspiel, always hanging out with co-host, producer extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week, Todd Loiselle. He is the CIO of National Food Group. We're going to be talking all things origin story. We're going to be talking all things AI, digital transformation, all the fun consulting buzzwords that he has to deal with on a daily basis. And learn how he kind of got in this spot. And then we're going to make fun of some salespeople. So you can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials. Subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold. And don't forget, we are recording live here at the Detroit Podcasting Company inside the Detroit Shipping Company. If you haven't been here, it's on Peterborough and Cass down in Midtown Detroit. Come check it out. It's a fantastic place. Like 5-6 restaurants.
You know a good way to check it out?
Go drive there.
Come to our event.
Oh, yeah. That's a good segue. We haven't done a good segue in a while.
That's right. Our next meetup is April 17th, 1 week from today, 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. in the upstairs room at Detroit Shipping Company. Grab a drink at the bar before you head on up.
No speakers, no cover charge, just a bunch of IT folks hanging out. And no, there won't be 1,200 people here. The lady that showed up and was like disappointed there was only 40 people here. I'm like, you hear all it's these events. We used to write, Todd, back in the day, we'd write a blog called Don't Be That Guy. And if we would meet people that would ask these ridiculous things, we're like,
you'd say, don't be that guy.
Or we would write about them the next day. Then we wouldn't name them, but they would read it and go, oh my God, that was me. So like the next time they'd show up, they wouldn't do with that. But we had a bunch of them too. It was like, well, no, because like the whole thing with networking is, and that's kind of how I met you at a networking event, is the people that walked in those events with their hands out. We call them the trick-or-treaters. Right. And they're like, what do you got for me? And this person came in here and she, it was all about like what she wanted and gave nothing to the group, provided nothing of value,
It's pretty bold.
It was
pretty bold.
Right. It's like, am I here to serve you at a free meetup? You're going to complain about, and that was, I tried to explain to her, like the one we went to was 150 people.
Yeah.
How many people did we talk to? 5 or 6 each, maybe? Maybe 12?
Yeah, but I've been to several of those events, so I knew quite a few people already.
Right. But I'm just saying like new people.
But yeah.
And then like we used to have them when there was 1,200 people at the Majestic in St. Andrews.
Oof.
Like you'd say hello to like 30, 40 people, but like, and you get maybe 10 business cards, you'd maybe reach out to 3 people and you'd maybe have coffee with one.
Yes.
Like, so who cares if there's a ton of people in the room? So that's always drove me nuts about these things when people, not a lot of people here. We're like, who are you talking to?
Are you going to talk to every one of them? Are you going to do speed dating?
Exactly. So I always love a good origin story. CIO, you're kind of like at top of Mount Kilimanjaro and like that journey.
Yes.
Obviously I saw a little consulting, in the back, like talk to you, I guess, did you have aspirations to be sitting in your seat or what did you want to do when you grew up, when you kind of started in this business?
Well, even before this business, what I wanted to do was graduate from high school. I know that sounds kind of silly, but my origin story actually started much earlier. It started in first grade. So when I was in first grade, I had a very difficult time reading, and I was far in behind everybody that was around me. Absolutely everybody, my friends, everybody. And the principal and teachers and the like were like, okay, well, we need to hold Todd back. And
the worst thing every parent wants,
Yes. I was just like beside myself because here I am. I'm looking at my friends. They're doing fine. I'm looking at others. And there's even these, high end classes that I'm not even in the mediocre classes succeeding and so forth. And, so, I distinctly remember, sitting in a chair and watching my mom talk with a principal. And she's like, look, you're going to just have to prepare yourself. Like Todd mentally is not there. He's not mentally there and he's not going to graduate from high school. No, let's go on to college. Like he just doesn't have the intelligence. And my mom was like, no, I see different things. And so they're like, okay, well, we'll have him tested. So they had me tested and I came back and I had ADHD and I was dyslexic. Right. So boom, I had 2 whammies right out of the gate. And they're like, okay, well, we're still going to hold him back. We're still going to, figure out some different things. And my mom was like, no, there's something else there. She's like, I want to get him tested. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to get an IQ test and see if he's really as dumb as you're saying that he is, really, in essence. Exactly. Thanks, Mom. And so my mom had me take an IQ test, and I scored exceptionally high. And so
it was like Einstein syndrome.
It was up there. It was good.
Yeah.
But what it did is it told them, hey, I had the capacity to learn, but I didn't learn the way that they were teaching.
Sure.
Absolutely not.
You wonder how common that is these days.
It's much more common. But back then, they didn't have like the drugs toned in. They tried to put me on some types of drugs in the
and
bag,
a smack in the ass.
but
basically.
man, it just put me down under, and I was napping for the day.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a lot of the techniques that they have today, and a lot of just the education or the awareness. It just wasn't there, right, when I was growing up. And so they decided they were going to put me in special education classes along with my normal classes. So I was in with all the other special education kids, and, they were across all the different spectrums. You had the autism spectrum where, the guy can barely kid can even feed themselves, to some that are much more manageable. But I was very lucky in that I had a special education teacher that went through something similar. And she taught me, rather than just learning through memorization, but to learn through my five senses, to learn through touch, to learn through smell, to learn through visualization, to learn through my eyesight and so forth. And so she worked with me on this skill set. And in the beginning, the memorization never worked, but by using this five senses, like I ended up getting it and learning it. And so what I found when I was younger is I was able to push through this and able to learn in a way that was different than kids. And I went from, hey, I'm way behind, to all of a sudden I'm kind of at par, to all of a sudden I'm doing really good.
Sure.
So once I got that, and I actually started singing when I was in high school, and I ended up being really good at it, which is funny because I played basketball all the time, and I was terrible. I was out there in the snow shooting every day, and I was awful at it. But then when I started singing, it just came natural. So I was really good at singing, and I actually got a scholarship to Western to sing. And, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be a singer. I'm just going to go into general business.
You get scholarships for choir?
You can. Absolutely.
My neighbor got a scholarship for bowling for Michigan State. I'm bitter to this day. I'm like, I get a scholarship for bowling?
But, I'm not going to, I wasn't going to be a professional singer. But I studied hard. I played hard, had a great time in college. And then I started my career off with Arthur Anderson.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And, I don't know if you're aware, but Arthur Anderson had this rigorous training right out of the gate. They bought their own college, St. Charles, and they had all of their new employees go there from all over the world. So here I am from Western, and I'm sitting toe to toe with individuals from Harvard, from Yale, and so forth. And it's really a weeder. It was a weeder event where they would work you 80 to 90 hours and just kick your butt.
What are you doing? Like,
you're doing projects, you're doing faux projects that are out there, and you're starting
fix the supply chain issue at XYZ Corp. Okay.
Yes. They're giving you all sorts of different examples of what you'd actually do in the field. And then you go through it top to bottom, and you start working at 6:00 in the morning, and you're not done till 11. And then you can stay for a couple extra hours to work, but then you're doing this on Saturday and Sunday. And the whole reason that they do this, other than kind of teaching you, but setting the mindset right out of the gate, like if you're going to work for us, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to come in with the right attitude, and you've got to be willing to put in the work. And if you're not, then you're out. So if you, at the end of the 8 weeks that this schooling took place, if they came back and said, hey, this guy's not going to cut it, boom, you're gone.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
It
Like,
was intense.
and you're 22.
Yes.
And you just discovered beer.
Yes.
You know,
and they played hard too. So, they had a mini golf course that was out there, and they had soccer that you could play. They had a course. I mean, it was a whole literal university. So they had access to all that.
And literally everyone was on some form of upper or.
It was, but it taught you hard work right out of the gate, which
Yeah.
I really appreciated. And it set me up for success in my career. And so at the time I was like, okay, well, I want to go as far as I can in this profession. And so I thought initially I want to be a partner at one of the consulting companies. So I got into ERP implementations.
Okay.
And I traveled all over the United States. I lived in St. Louis for a year. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia for a year.
Emo's Pizza, up or down?
Up.
Okay. All right. It's got a weird, like for some people's palates, they don't get like the Provel cheese does not hit them right. I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Sorry.
I lived in Los Angeles for a 6-month stint, Denver, Colorado, two times for 6 months. I lived in Cleveland. I lived in Emporium, Pennsylvania, middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like by Hershey?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And, quick funny story on that one. So I was still playing basketball quite a bit, and I was getting better. And one of the guys that was at one of the warehouses there was like, hey, can you come play basketball with me? And I was like, sure. I'm going to destroy this, right? And so I showed up, and I didn't even have my shoes. And the guy was like, oh, well, you can go to the Dollar General. And I was like, the Dollar General? Like, how much is that for shoes? He's like, oh, it's like $2, maybe $3.
Dollar General has shoes?
Yeah, they did. They had everything, right? And so I go there, and I sit down, or I get my shoes, I get to the court, and all of a sudden I look around. And for those that don't know me or can't see me, I'm 6'3". I'm a fairly skinny guy, around 200 pounds. And I am the shortest guy in the room. All these guys are like 6'8", 6'9",
right.
Just built and busted and huge. And, of course, I'm still being cocky, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to destroy these guys. The first play that comes out, this guy, 6'8", just dunks on me hard. And
this is just pickup game.
Yes. And I'm laying on the ground, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to back up a little bit. So I back up. This next guy hits an NBA 3. And I'm like, what is going on? So I just totally got worked. So it was a great lesson of humility. And after I was like, this is not what I expected, guys. And he's like, look, all we do is shoot guns and play basketball around here. Like, we don't do anything else.
Right.
But it was a lesson in humility of like, okay, even though you think you're good and you go someplace where you don't know people, you can get put in check pretty fast.
That was I forget what, like a lifeline, like unless you're Michael Jordan, there's someone out there better than you,
Yes.
type of thing. Did you run the 3-on-3 Mackers?
I did.
That was my thing. We just love those.
Yeah, I played in the Mackers, and
for a lazy guy, for having short courts, those are the best.
I still have a couple trophies downstairs.
Do you really?
I do.
Nice.
My daughter's like, what is this? It's so heavy. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, they don't make trophies like that anymore. They're all plastic. These were still metal.
Oh yeah,
I
have hundreds of bowling trophies. Like it's insane. And then I look at it like, that's how I forget sometimes I was a good bowler when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
So I was working with Arthur Anderson, really enjoyed it, had great experiences. I implemented Bond, QAD. My specialty really was JD Edwards, and mostly on the business side of the consulting. And then as we were working with JD Edwards, they needed some technical help. And I was like, you know what, I can do that. That's easy for me. And I did a couple, coding here and there. And then they're like, wow, you're pretty good at this. Like, can you do some more?
Right.
And I was like, sure. Next thing that I know, like, I'm on the technical side of JD Edwards implementations and coding. And, it was just easy for me. It just really came natural and was easy for me. So our group, when Arthur Andersen went down, was very profitable. So we got purchased by PricewaterhouseCoopers. And PwC individuals were very similar to.
I thought Anderson was the Enron thing.
It was.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that why they got dissolved and
Yes.
sold out? Okay, got it.
So Arthur Andersen got in trouble with Enron, and so they totally dissolved. Our business unit was purchased by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and met some fantastic individuals there. Got a couple of good mentors, and then we got purchased PwC Consulting by IBM.
Okay.
And at the time when we got purchased by IBM, now I don't know what IBM is like right now, their consulting business and so forth. So I'm not bashing them, but back in the day when I was going through, it was a totally different culture. Like we were, hard workers coming in, flying in on, Sunday, working all through, late Friday, early Saturday, go home for a day or two and come back and bust all over again, where we had IBMers that would join our team and they wouldn't come in until Tuesday. They were leaving at 4:00 in the afternoon and then wanting to go home by Thursday. And it was like, wow, this just isn't a good cultural fit. And at the same time, I was looking to get off the road. So for me, we were bidding on a ERP implementation for JD Edwards with a Masco company that was a 1/4 mile from my house that I had purchased. And so I'm like, hey, this is great. I can get off the road. I can maybe start a family, just start to get a life back rather than just working 24/7. Now, I really enjoyed what I was doing, so I can't take that back. But I needed to do, something different. And we bid on the work and we lost the work. And I was like, ugh. So I threw my resume under the table to the VP of IT at the time.
Okay.
And which I wasn't supposed to do. And I said, look, you're going to need somebody with my skill set and you do not have to pay consulting dollars for it. So just give me a call. I don't care. Keep me for 1 or 2 years. Get rid of me just as you would any other consultant and save a boatload of money. And he's like, get out of here. And he calls me 2 months later. He's like, you're really effing expensive. And I'm like, look, you do not have to pay me consulting dollars.
Right.
Just bring me on, let me do my job and kick me out. That's fine. And so he's like, all right. So he ends up hiring me. And
it's interesting though that you took that angle instead of saying, I'm really smart, I know my shit, versus I have a problem or you have a problem that I can solve.
Yes.
Not many people take that approach. They're always going to say how good they are. I'm really smart. I can code better than anyone. Was that inherent or what? Like, I gotta how you came up with that? Because that's, most people early in their career don't get that until they're way later in their career.
I knew what my bill rate was. And I knew how much I was paid, which was really big discrepancy.
Sure.
4 or 5 times my pay. So I thought, geez, if he even, gives me half of that, I'm doubling my personal salary
right.
just over a year or two. But I mean, to your point, I was just trying to think of any way that I could to get off the road at that point, and especially get on that project because I had the skill set. I knew I could run everything, and I knew I could be home at the same time.
Sure.
And get some of my life back.
I mean, even if you worked for less money, they have that peace. Like people don't. I was a road warrior. That peace you can't put a price tag on that.
But it took me time to adjust because even for the first 2 months, I was going to Applebee's and Outback every day because
you're home. That
was my habit when I was on the road. Every night I was going and having Applebee's and it was fabulous. So it took me time to be like, wow, you can go home and cook.
Right.
You can make a meal.
See, for me, it was when you're on the road, what are you going to do? Sit in a hotel room or go to the hotel bar downstairs where there's 75 people laughing?
Yes. And
I'm going downstairs. And then you find yourself drinking yourself to sleep every night when you're on the road. It's tough life.
I would go to the bars just to have conversations with folks.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a way to relieve stress. So while I was with Masco, I had another great leader, a VP of IT that took me under his wing and got me into like the executive leadership program at Masco. And I was immediately running their ERP implementation projects, and things were going really well. Ended up being the director of applications at one business unit. Then I went to a different business unit, was a director of infrastructure. And then they were setting me up to be, a CIO for one of the other Masco business units.
People don't realize how massive Masco is.
Yes. I mean, they own Delta Faucets,
right.
Behr Paint,
Yeah.
A lot of big brand names that
Sure.
are out there. And at the time, I was looking for the next CIO gig. There weren't any, that were available, that were opened up. I had no idea when the next one was going to open up. And through some of my networking, I had met Mike Pellegrino, who was the CIO at Mastronardi Produce. They are the largest North American greenhouse growers, grow tomatoes, cucumbers, strawberries, peppers. And he was like, Todd, he's like,
last I checked, they were almost $3 billion company that no one ever yeah, because we do work with them, and I'm like, that's a lot of avocados. I'm like, that's crazy that there's a company that is that big in our backyard that like none of us really have ever heard of.
Their largest greenhouse is in Michigan, and it's literally a mile by a mile long.
Oh my God.
A mile by a mile long.
Where's
to
that?
Get back and forth. It's on the west side of the state.
Okay.
You literally, it's cold water. You have to ride a bike basically to go back and forth. And they have these, what they call mules, which will go along the lines of where the tomatoes, and they'll pick the tomatoes, they'll put it into a central spot, and then the mule is on almost like an electric train and drives it all the way back to where it needs to be packed.
That's the home of Dan the Beast Severn, by the way, for those MMA peeps out there.
And so he was like, hey, he's like, I've only got a couple years left and I'm retiring. He's like, why don't you come over with me? You get to build your own team. When I joined them, they were roughly 600 million in sales.
Okay.
And then when I left, they were about 2.2 billion.
Yeah. Wow.
But that was so much fun because there I got to build my own team on the application side. And we just continued to grow. And my ex-CIO just taught me all the ins and the outs. And then he left. He's like, okay, I'm retiring. I'm taking off, and took over. And then I didn't think, I had been, when I was with Masco, one of the business units that I was with was in dire straits. And, being the director of infrastructure over there was really difficult because in coming in the front door, I was directed, like, I've got to reduce my staff by 20%. And I don't even know who these individuals are.
Right.
And I'm sitting down having conversations, and they weren't like C and D players. Like these were, B players that were just fine. But because the company was in such distress, financial distress, they were like, hey, you just got to cut heads and we got to reduce our SG.
We're going to automate.
We're going to do something. And so I did that, reduced the staff by 20%. And then like 4 months later, they're like, hey, you got to reduce your staff again by 20%. And everybody just looked at me like the hatchet man. And I did not thrive in that environment. I didn't. There are people that are built for that and they do a great job. But me, I like building teams with trust. And you can't build a trust when you're sitting there firing everybody.
That movie In the Air Up There is an insanely depressing movie, like more than anyone ever talks about.
So I absolutely love growth companies. And I got a call from a recruiter just like most do. And like, hey, I got a CIO position available. I'm like, I'm not interested. They're like, well, it's in Novi. Novi, really? And like, who is it? And they're like, National Food Group. Never heard of them.
Right.
And they're right in my backyard. And so I was able to talk to the owner and several of the other executives, and it was like, hey, I get to run this journey again. National Food Group is rapidly growing organization, roughly $280 million in sales, double-digit growth year over year. And they're not only growing organically, but also looking at acquisitions that are out there.
Hmm.
So they could easily be in the 400 or 500 million in 2 or 3 years, depending on different activities that are going on, but just rapid growth. So they brought me in. I was able to build my team again from scratch. And now I've got an amazing team. I trust them. They trust me. We just get results. And it's fun. It's fun working with a growing company. For those that don't know, National Food Group, we buy and sell dry and frozen goods primarily through K through 12 schools and correctional facilities. On the K-12 side, we've got a brand that's called ZZ's. We've got to meet all the school nutritional requirements. It's got to be nut-free. It's got to be, can't have too much sugar. It can't have any salt, but it's still got to taste good for the kids. And we do a good job in playing in that market by figuring out what the nutritional requirements and still having it taste good. So we have like applesauce, fruit cups, and so forth. Some bars that are out there. And then on the correctional side of the business, totally different business model. There we've got always available. We'll go out and we'll source different proteins and so forth. And then we've got opportunity buy. So
Hold on a minute. I got to ask you a question.
Go for it.
I saw a clip on, I go through scrolling through YouTube and a clip comes up and it says something prison chips that like people are going nuts over. And there's like this brand of chips and people that were incarcerated for a long time, like crave these chips and they smuggle them out and they're on eBay for like $50 for a bag of chips. I'm trying to see if I got the hookup for you. We could start selling chips on eBay. I'm kind of half joking, but like I've never had them before. And I saw a video of somebody making some, some dish. And I'm like, I gotta.
Hey, send it to me. Always looking for that next opportunity to drive revenue growth and gross profit. It reminds me one of the opportunity buys that we had last year was with McDonald's. McDonald's had numerous trucks of chicken patties that were out there. And there's nothing wrong with the chicken patties other than the fact that it took them 5 minutes to cook rather than 3 because of the ingredients that they used or whatnot.
Okay.
And they were like, it's too inefficient. We've got to get rid of these. So we bought these for pennies on the dollar, turned around and sold them to correctional facilities, made a mint off of them. And the correctional facility group the inmates were like, this is amazing. We're getting actual chicken patties from McDonald's.
That's just trying to unpack that conversation to have that, like, not only from the McDonald's standpoint, but the fact that like they just dump, like we're just getting rid of all this food.
Yeah. And it happens all the time with all the major distributors that are out there. They will have something that it's edible, it's fine, but for whatever reason, it doesn't fit their business model. And they're like, how do we get rid of it?
Well, we were talking before the show and you said something about like number 2 and number 3 stock. And I'm like, what the hell's number 3 chicken?
So just like, tomatoes, there's different tiers of freshness. There's the same thing with chicken. So you have number 1 chicken, number 2 chicken, number 3 chicken. And like the number 1 may be a beautiful breast, right? The other one may be a chicken drum, but it's got, a little hanging skin on the side. And then number 3 just looks completely discombobulated, but it's still edible and it still tastes good, but it just doesn't look, as pretty in the package as one might.
So when you get to go to the restaurant and they have the special and they push the Bronzino.
Yes.
That's the number 3 Bronzino because they're trying to, it's really good.
That's why you don't go after the special.
Exactly.
Don't go after the chef special because they're trying to get rid of that stuff.
So so now I got the business model. Now just getting into your head in terms of like IT, right? And usually typically, the CTO, it's blended now, but like the CIO, like I hate to use the term. We had 15 shows in a row where there were digital transformation practitioners.
Nice.
And we asked the definition for each one and they were completely 180'd. Every one of them. I'm not even going to ask you the definition because it's a running joke now with this show. But like in terms of what you are not just tasked with, but what like your end game or what your goal is. Your business model is unique where you're doing distribution more so than making a product. like, are you talking about like customer? What's number one on your list? Security, obviously, but like, is it customer experience? Is it is it supply chain? Or is it all of it?
So it's interesting you ask, because I implement the same process wherever I've gone. And I learned the business first. And that comes back from my early consulting days.
Mm-hmm.
In order to solve the right problems, I needed to understand how the business operated.
Absolutely.
So the first thing that I do whenever I go into any organization is I spend an enormous amount of time just learning the business. You know, how do we make money? How do we maximize gross profit? What's our competitive advantage? What are our strengths? What's the weaknesses? What are the opportunities out there? What are the threats? What are the biggest pain points that individuals in the organization has? I go through all of these. And then what I do is I will grab my team and I will start doing day in the lives. So I will sit down with each individual areas, even if they're multiple tiers, and I'll take my team with me to sit down with the end user and watch them do their job. And inevitably, every single time that we do this, my IT staff will be like, why are you doing it that way? Like, there's so many other easier way. Well, that's how I was taught. Well, you were taught wrong. Okay.
Right.
But what it does is it helps us to get those quick wins and builds confidence in the end users that we can help them. But then we see the kind of the bigger picture. Where are the key stress points that are in the business? And then what I do is then I will collaborate with my own network and I will look for solutions that will help drive. Primarily, I look at two things. I look at driving revenue or gross profit and waste efficiency, removing efficiencies. And I will target IT efforts to do that. And it doesn't matter what that is. It could be pure process flows, could be automation, could be AI, could be all of the above. But for me, I always focus on the business first so that I'm solving the right problems, because it doesn't do me any good to just throw technology out there and make all these promises, because they'll never come to fruition.
And I think that's the biggest issue with IT in general is, you know, we talk about the vendor matrix all the time just for security. And there's 300 logos on that into 15 different segments. You go like as a CISO, as a practitioner, you go nuts just trying to layer a security framework. And then now you look at just IT, the amount of vendors and product and POCs. And I don't know how you do it, like, to be quite candid, because you're on the list of, you know, once you hit a certain revenue threshold, you get put on a list. You guys are on a mid-market list with enterprise IT companies or vendors, sorry. And you're getting hammered by BDRs, business development reps,
all the time.
And they're pushing a green blinking light, right?
They are. So just LinkedIn alone, I get 5 to 10 requests for connections a day.
And then once you hit accept, then you get the
moment
paragraph.
that you look at it and you hit accept, you get this blog of, hey, I've got this great new technology.
I've helped companies such as yours.
Yes, exactly. Over and over again. And I don't even answer. And then they they will send me a reply 4 or 5 times. It's like, dude, you didn't get it when I didn't answer the first. Well, just reply and tell me yes or no. No, I haven't answered you in 5 times. Why are you continuing to do it?
Yeah.
On the email side, what's really helped me is we use a product called Abnormal.
Sure.
And so, Abnormal is really good at detecting behavior-based threats that are out there. But what it also does is it will create a gray mail. It will help you with gray mail. So any types of people that are sending you an email for the first time, or that is promotional, or they want to sell you something, automatically now goes into this promotion folder. So all I do now is I look at it maybe once a week. There's 100 emails from all these different individuals trying to reach out to me to sell something.
Yep.
And I just go delete. Don't even look at them now.
See, you get that's the
Now
thing,
that's got to scare some sales folks that are out there, but
no, it's accurate.
I don't have time to look at every single offering that exists in this universe.
That's the thing. You get put on a drip. Do you ever heard that terminology before?
haven't.
I'm giving you insider
New,
baseball.
yeah.
There's going to be an inside sales rep that puts you on a drip campaign, and a drip campaign is going to have 12 emails in it over a period of like, you might get hit every day for 5, and then every third day, and then it goes to like once a week, and then they'll say, well, we're going to quit you if you don't reply. Like, this is the last time you'll hear from us. And like, no one, it doesn't work. Like so the problem is we're implementing that at Day Job. And I kind of just said, please, for the love of all that's good and holy, don't do the breakup thing. I don't mind if you reach out and say, here's a white paper based on your industry vertical. If you like it, great. If you don't, great.
Show me value out of the gate.
Right.
Show me something that's going to wow me, and I might be interested.
Yeah.
But just saying, hey, I've got a new AI program for you. Everybody's got a new
Everyone's
AI
got
program for me. I don't care.
We get the salespeople at the networking events that always like, my green blinking lights this, my green blinking lights that. And I go, God, nobody cares.
Yeah.
I'm like, you seriously, like you get really excited about your 5-letter, what was the 5-letter acronym? CNAP. What do you do? Oh, I'm with a CNAP provider. I go, what in the blue hell is CNAP? It was Cloud Native Application Protection something. And I'm like, I go, for the love of all it's good. No, see, here's the thing. I'm the assassin of the sales industry. Like, I'm the Joey Swoll of you need to do better. Right. But like, nobody knows if you walk up to you and go like, bro, I want to buy some CNAP. And you're going to be like, what, what is, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm in the industry, but like, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand is it's not a problem for you, or you don't even know what it is. If you don't live in their nomenclature. Yeah.
In one of the biggest pet peeves of mine is the bigger guys feel like because I'm Oracle that you will just want to talk to me. How do you? Well, I'm from Oracle. You don't want to talk to me? No, I don't want to talk to you. You're a snake oil salesman. Get out of here. Yeah. But they feel like this entitlement of, hey, I'm with this big company. I know you want to talk to me. No,
I don't.
At
least hear what I have to say.
I don't.
I've sat in the room with grown men. I would like to consider myself a grown man. Maybe not mentally, but at least physically. I'm gray hair and, gray hair sales guy. Worked for one of you would know them. They're a 4 horsemen of the internet. Basically just saying, oh, we got the best green blinking lights. We got the best green blinking lights. Our data center is the best because we run on it. And I'm supposed to just go like, oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Like, and never once asked like, what's your, this is when I was on the practitioner side for a year. Don't tell anybody. But I'm like, you didn't even ask what my cloud strategy was at the time.
Yeah.
You didn't even bother to say, what are you, where is your data center? Like, you didn't even ask that. Like, and you're walking in here talking to me how great you're, mind boggling to me. How'd you get this far?
I have the best servers on earth. Well, guess what? I'm fully in the cloud.
Right.
So I don't need your server.
Right.
I don't need it. Well, you don't have on-prem anything? Nope. I'm fully off.
Sure.
Well, you can't do that. Oh, I did it. It's
right.
done.
Right. That is, so talk to me about that, because that is, I don't want to say it's unorthodox, but that's typically, I'm a hybrid IT purist. I've always been since the day I was selling cloud when it was called shared hosting services. Right. So I've been involved in this whole thing, but I always based it upon workload. You put the heavy hitting databases on prem, you put your IIS servers in the cloud, and kind of a mix in between with what gets hit. Like, so did you make the decision to go all cloud? And I guess what was part of that? To walk me through that process.
The journey had already started before I got there, because they decided they were going to use NetSuite, and they were going to use NetSuite in the cloud.
Okay. And
what was really powerful about that decision is they could still make configuration changes and take the upgrades that happen every 6 to 8 months. The upgrades, the way that they're designed, just didn't mess with it. Now, this was before Oracle bought them and trying
ruined
to
it.
ruin it. But
I was a fan before Oracle bought it too. So.
But so that journey of just getting the ERP was one of the largest things, and that was done before I ever came on board. And so then we had, Office 365 and all that other stuff, and we switched to Entra ID. We moved everything over in December, and most of our other applications that were out there were all cloud based.
Sure. Storage is cheap.
Yeah, and then anything else that we bought was cloud based. So we just stuck with that strategy and was just like, hey, let's get the last of this out and be 100%. And so that's where we're at today.
Because that was, I've seen a lot of stuff over my years. My first job in IT was in a big empty data center. And I said, go fill it, kid, and I've had to figure that whole world out. And you get into the days these days with like Switch out in Grand Rapids, the Pyramid Building, where that thing's like,
that is a beast.
Oh yeah. Like,
a beast.
Guards with Uzis, and I'm being funny, but like you have armed guards. You basically have the weight entry, do
you know why they landed on that spot?
That was the old, which furniture manufacturer was that? That was someone's, I don't know why it's there, why they landed on that.
They built it there because of, it has the least amount of natural disasters. So you don't have to worry about tornadoes. You don't have to worry about fires. You don't have to worry about earthquakes.
Yeah.
And the Michigan area is actually a hotbed for those types of data centers. There's a couple others that are out there, I think, like near Las Vegas. And
There's Reno. There's the other switch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was shocked when I heard that. I was like, Michigan. I'm like, okay, well, hey, we got some good. We're known for something.
Do you remember the salt mine data center that was in Grand Rapids? I've never been in it.
I've never been there.
I've heard stories and lore.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It a data center today?
I don't know what it is. They don't let people down there anymore, do they?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like it was lore for like in the early days.
Ask somebody on this podcast, and
I will.
Let's connect and let's go down there.
I'll get yelled at about Spider-Man costumes. If I say the wrong Spider-Man costume, I'll get hate mail, but I won't for this. Like no one will answer that question. We'll figure that out. So we got into the digital transformation thing. Like I'm curious to see. So AI is especially with the vendors now.
Yes, it's
difficult to keep up with. So like me being on the consultant side, I'm in charge of the vendor space at my day job, and it's every day there's 5 coming going. You need to have a partnership with us.
Yes,
and we're like, and then I'll go to one of our practitioners, and they'll go like, dude, like we're so inundated, but like this one's got this thing. Like they all got that thing.
Oh yes.
I don't know what to make of it. The world is it's very wild west right now. And it's gonna explode, then it's gonna contract because the big ones are gonna start acquiring. Right now we're in the 100 startups a minute phase.
Yes, absolutely.
You as a CIO, how the hell do you can start with like something easy like Copilot. I don't even consider that AI anymore, and like all the way to the most advanced, all the things.
Yeah.
Like how do you even start to make sense with all this?
And in my opinion, it starts with probably 3 things. The first thing is to try to do the best that you can to stay educated on what's out there. I have a bunch of subscriptions that I look at every single morning that talk about the different advancements that are out there. Hey, Gemini has a 2.0. Hey, ChatGPT's gone from 4.0 to 4.5. Here are the new features and functions. Because inevitably they just keep getting better. And like you said, there's going to be a spot where they consolidate. They're not there yet. And I can't tell you with 100% who's going to win the race.
Yeah.
But I'm also not sitting on the sideline saying I'm going to wait for somebody to finish the race. So
we'll be long gone off the planet by the time the race is finished.
Yes. So the first thing that I do is I stay up to date on a daily basis. I also utilize my network. I am part of an AI mastermind group that meets once a month with other CEOs and CIOs and talk to each other about actual use cases. Like, what are you really doing to drive business results?
You know what? I saw one last week. Speaking of food, I didn't think anything of it until I'm talking to you right now. It basically took an image of a conveyor belt, took a picture of every potato chip that came down the line. And they basically categorized it into like 25 different chips. So you had an A chip with 0 burn marks. Then you had your Z chip, which was like the rainbow chips from Better Made. They were all just burnt, like nasty, nasty garbage. Then you had everything in between. And as these things went, they got categorized in like one of these 20 categories. And then they would get sorted based on the category. And that was their quality control.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they're scanning millions and millions and millions of chips. And I'm like, now that I took a step back and I thought about it, I'm like, God, I can't even comprehend the ability to be able to do that. Like my dad in the 70s, if he worked at Better Made, would be like rolling over just thinking, that this being an option.
But that's a great point that I continue to push with my friends, my peers, and CEOs is you got to start first with the problem.
Yeah.
What are you trying to solve with AI, and why is it a big problem? And does it address the one of two things? Does it address, gaining more revenue, or is it reducing waste? Is it taking waste? If it's not doing either of those two things, a lot of them are like, hey, I got this shiny new toy that does this, that, and the other thing, but is it going to get me more sales?
So I thought, this is an interesting one because I want to bounce this off you because I was fascinated by this demo. Again, one of the big boys at one of the 4 horsemen of the internet built it for one of the big one of the 4 horsemen of the automotive industry. And basically it was a service center app that took imagery. It's more machine learning than it is AI. But what it is, if you go out and get your brakes done and you're like, Mr. Loiselle, your brakes, they're 5/16. You want to replace them. And you're like, what the hell does that mean? And you go, yeah, what the hell? I'm here. Right. Well, then this thing you take a picture of the brakes and it'll say, hey, based on your driving, you did 16,000 miles. You have 12,000 miles left on your brakes. Your brakes are probably going to, poop the bed in November. Would you like to set up a appointment in October? You want to replace them now? I'll give you $20 off. So it's basically created an educated consumer, but they did it for everything.
Yeah.
So for every time they went on the underbody of the car, they were taking imagery, and then they were baselining it with a million other cars or tires. And so like for me, is that a revenue generator? Is it a trust generator? Like what is an educated customer? What is that worth to you? So like can you put $1 on that?
On that? No, I can't. And that I would be the type of leader that wouldn't go after that one.
Fair.
I wouldn't. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it, but if it's not driving top line growth, then I don't want to do it. And I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to do it.
Can you measure it? I don't know.
And you need to be able to measure it.
Yeah,
so whatever you're putting in, you've got to, I've always gone back to having an ROI. You've got to have metrics that are in place that you can measure against before you put the AI in, and that you can measure against after. And it could be a variety of things, right? It could be in our business, the number of bids that we go after. It could be the number of bids that we win. It could be how fast we actually respond to the bid. So velocity. Mm-hmm. Hey, when we got a bid, it took us 5 days to respond to it. Now we're doing it in 2 to 3 days. You can measure those things, and then you can see if the
profitability
AI is really working, and then it needs to end those end results. Now, there'll always be subjective stuff that's out there. That's just inevitable.
Yeah.
But, I was at a board meeting, and I was talking about AI. And
BORED?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's old joke.
And one of the board members, probably about a year and a half ago, was like, hey, I've got somebody in the AI space. They're really good. You need to talk to them and have a conversation. I was like, all right, you're on the board. I have to do this anyways.
Yeah.
So I gave, the individual a call, and he was like, hey, okay, I'm ready to put this in. When do you want to start? And I'm like, you don't even know what problem I'm trying to solve. And he's like, well, you just need AI. And I was like, what do you mean I just need AI? What do I need it for? You got to give me a reason that I'm going to go to the CEO and saying, hey, we're spending money, and what are we going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And so he went through his dog and pony show about all the things that he's done in the past and all the value that he brought to everyone else. And then I was like, all right, well, what's this going to cost? And he's like, to stand it up, it's going to be $350,000. And then it's going to be another $200,000 to run it. And I'm like, I don't have $500,000 that I can allocate to this effort right now. And you know what his response was? You can't afford not to.
For crying out loud.
And I was like, the hell I can't. And
without even and that goes back to my green blinking light salespeople. Like, didn't say that this is going to make you 10 million.
no,
Didn't say that this is going to save you 2 million off your bottom line.
nothing.
But then that again,
But we've
people
got
like that
this-
ruin this business.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
But we're fancy. You can't afford not to give me $500,000. I'm walking away. I'm never talking to you again.
But again, though, 500,000, it's if it made you 10, that's cheap. If it's just a toy,
yes,
what's the point? Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't think there's not many salespeople that get it. Like, it's a thing.
You've got to, just like anything else in my mind, you got to connect it back to the dollars. Because as the owner of the company, if I can show you, hey, I'm putting $100,000 investment, but I've gotten, 10 other bids that are out there that are worth $500,000.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, let's double it. Not only do we double it, let's triple it. Let's figure this thing out and let's scale it. But without that, he's throwing his arms up in the air and it's like, well, where's my money going?
Yeah.
It's just another cost, just like anything else.
That was like the hardest part to me about being a CISO. I've had this conversation many times when you're buying security. Like, I would look at it as like securing a house. You got cameras on the front door and back door. You got locks on all the doors. Like, how far do you go? Are you putting guns under the tables? Are you buying 2 pit bulls? Are you doing storm shutters? Are you building an escape room in the basement? Like, how far are you taking this? And I think some companies get caught up in that where you're fine just locking the front door and back door and maybe having a dog, but all the others, you know what I'm saying? It gets crazy.
I do. The amount of money that you can spend on any IT solution can get way out of control. I'll give you a funny example. So Gartner, when I was with Master Nardi, we used Gartner and we just used them on the finance and accounting side. And after a lot of negotiations, we ended up paying like $150,000. Well, $150,000 when your company makes $2.2 billion is not like, it's not going to rock your world, right?
It's a lot of money, but yeah.
It's a lot of money, but it's not going to move or shake you. So the Gartner guy gives me a call now that I'm with National Food Group. And he's like, hey, Todd, I want to get back and work with you, get you back into Gartner. I'm like, the size of company I'm at right now, I'm not at your size. Oh, well, we have a mid-market pricing that's different.
I hate that name.
And I was like, oh, really?
You're an SMB product for you.
Exactly. We've got a special customized product, especially for a company of your size. And so he gave me the dog and pony show, and it's half of what I had, previously at my other company. And so then he wants to set up, 4 other calls to go into ROI and talk about the value of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, stop. I'm like, before we even go any further, I have no idea what your mid-market pricing even is. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of giving you all this time of mine knowing that I'm never going to buy your product because it's just out of my price range for the company that I'm at. Like, oh, it's affordable. It's affordable. And I'm like, it's affordable? Well, what is it? He goes, oh, well, we start at 3-year deals for $125K a piece. I'm like, dude, you have priced yourself way out of talking with me. There is nothing that you can give me.
Yeah.
that I haven't already seen or know that, and I had your offering that is worth it to this company. And he says, well, why? What do you mean why? Because you're too expensive for me.
Right.
You want to go to somebody else, a $1 billion company, and do this. There's value there. I'm not saying that there's not, but not for my size company. You're barking up the wrong hill. So
interesting.
I told him no.
So
yes,
we're gonna wrap things up in a minute, but I kind of I was like, people in your seat, like, and there's someone like sitting at a help desk job that just started, or that 22-year-old that just got the degree. You gave some good tips with the whole, kind of bearing down and getting to work, but like some people, can't do that, the 80, 90 hours a week and training, but like tips for, cause usually we always talk people, do 2 years in a help desk, kind of grow, move up figure out what you like and move from there. But like, got any tips for like that fresh grad or that, help desk person that, wants to kind of, get in your seat in a couple of years,
Yeah. For me, even when I'm doing hiring, the key thing that I lock on is attitude versus aptitude. To me, that is the biggest driver, one of the biggest drivers of anybody having a successful career. If you have the right attitude, I can teach you anything, even if you don't know it. But when you come to me and you're the smartest guy in the room and, you're a jerk and you can't work well with others, all you are is a political pain for me, and you will never succeed. You'll never grow with the wrong attitude. You may get to the next level or so, but you're never going to get to where you really want or deserve with the wrong attitude.
No, it's fair. I used to, I wrote a similar thing called the Justice League. And it was, when you build a team, you can't have 12 Supermans. You can't have 12 Wonder Womans. You need, you need a Batman. You need all the different, you need different people to fit the puzzle. Cause one person that's the dynamo doesn't make a great team.
What drives me nuts is the Debbie Downer of the group. I don't know. Do you remember SNL?
That's one of my favorite bits. Because no one could keep a straight face. That's why it's one of my favorite bits.
It's, walking around with the cloud above your head. Everybody hates me. I don't do a good job. When you have that, you just take that energy and you crush everybody else's energy around you. And that, whenever I have an individual like that either comes on my team or that I work through, I get so frustrated.
It's tough now because there's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of major players in big, huge companies that I'm not going to name that I've gotten cut, personal friends of mine over the last 3 months that have been there double-digit years, double-digit performers, and it's tough out there. And just to keep your head up. I mean, it's, I don't want to say it's an act of God because we all got to put food on the table for our families, but man, I haven't seen it like this. Cause I'm the one that I was part of one layoff. It was Cisco in 2016. And I was a top performer. It was a numbers thing.
Yep.
And
it happens.
Just looking what's going on. Most of us that work for big vendors, the bottom 5 to 10% got cut every year but right before earnings report, it was, it was almost laughable, but it's tough out there right now. It really is.
But if you're the person that dwells on that,
you're going to be the,
then you're going to be even in worse shape.
Yeah.
You're just going to be in worse shape. And so I know it's not easy, but you got to get back on the horse and figure it out and try different things, get creative. That's where networking is key, right? You can't start networking after you lost your
we've been saying that for 15 years.
You can't do that. Your networking has to start well before then, so that if you ever do get caught up in a situation like that, you've got people that you can lean on and that you're ready to lean on them right away. And if you try to start that the moment that you finally lose that 30-year job, it's so much more difficult.
So we always said that if, how you tier your network, and go, as soon as you get laid off, every recruiter is the top tier, but are you to them?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because if this is a fresh relationship, that you're just, you're walking into a networking event, not knowing anyone, asking for you're a trick or treater.
Exactly. You are, and you haven't given anything to anybody. And so, why are they going to bring you into the inner circle?
Yeah.
They're not.
Right.
And that makes it even more difficult, especially for positions, in the C-suite. In a position like mine, they're post on LinkedIn. You may see something on Ladders, but as a CIO, you're never going to get one of those positions. There's thousands and thousands of people that are going after those. they're going to hire, the CEOs are either going to find somebody themselves, which is rare, or they're going to get a recruiter. The recruiters own that C-suite space.
Yep.
And so if you want to be in that C-suite and you want to stay there, you got to develop relationships with those recruiters, and you got to be friends with them. And even if they got an opportunity, you've got another friend that's out there that's looking, you connect those two. And now you've given the recruiter value and built up, those positive points where you're not trick or treating. If you ever get put in that situation, you can go back and say, look, I found you 4 candidates, where you've made a significant amount of money and I didn't ask for a dime.
Yep. Remember the conversation we had before the show? And you're like, all those job fairs. And I said, I never asked for a dime.
Yeah.
That's kind of the end game right there is,
you build up all those chips. Yeah. So if something ever does happen, you're positioned, you're much more protected. It may not solve the answer, but it certainly gives you a huge leg up. And it's much more difficult, like you said, for individuals that have been in a job for 20 to 30 years, they feel like they didn't need to do the network and, they're close to retirement. So why do they need to do it now? And then all of a sudden the rug's pulled off underneath them and they're just like, what do I do now? Don't even know where to turn.
Say what you want about the former governor, Rick Snyder. We were guest speakers at a program he implemented called Shifting Gears. Because during the, 09-10 downturn, there was a lot of those in the market. They had companies for 20 years and got hit. And they're like, what's a LinkedIn? I haven't written a resume. I was fresh out of college and now I'm 48 and I got to go find a new job, So we were doing a bunch of workshops on, but it's true though. Like, I don't ever, like I always tell everyone, don't ever stop networking. I so appreciate, like, there's a crew that shows up every month. They don't ask for anything, but they're building that, building the friendships. So, yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be like networks that are specific to your industry. I mean, networks anywhere. Like, I'm a distinguished clown in the clown parade.
I forgot about that. I should have brought it up.
I'm a clown.
I totally forgot about that.
I am a clown. And you would not believe the amount of influencers that are clowns. And we get together 3 to 4 times a year, and you get to make connections and have meaningful relationships with the movers and shakers that are in Detroit.
Is it similar to the magic people? Because one of my close friends that I grew up with is a magician. And he's going to a thing like this weekend in like Colon, Michigan. I don't know if the clown, because I know he's friends with clowns. I didn't know if you guys intermingled.
I don't know any magicians, but maybe that's the next thing that I need to look at. But it's also very enjoyable, right? I mean, you get to dress up, you get to give the kids beads, you get to connect.
What was the thing you told me? Was it the jacket or is it the shoes?
The shoes?
Like as you get higher level.
Yes, the outfits. So there's a hierarchy.
This is fascinating to me. I never knew this before.
Yes.
I totally forgot about this. My God.
And so as a first through 5 years, half of your clown suit is all white satin. And
so wait, do you have to do a certain amount of things a year to get like one, or just 1 year of like saying you're a clown?
No. You got to do 5 years in that costume. They will. They make a costume for you each time.
Okay.
And you give them a theme. So I'm a big Detroit Lions fan. I'm like, I want to be a Detroit Lions clown. And the gal was like, hey, you're actually lucky because you can't have 2 clowns that are the same. And the previous clown just graduated to the next tier. So you can be the Detroit Lions because he didn't pick that theme, going forward. And I was like, sweet. So I got to be one of the Detroit Lions clowns. So half of my outfit's all white satin because that's what freshmen, wear. And you wear that for 5 years. And then they do the different tiers. So they change the different color on there. Then they go to 2 pieces. And then eventually you get to capes. So at like 15 years, you get like a red cape. And
did you know any of this, Randy?
Got like a blue cape that's on there.
I didn't either.
This is deep clown lore.
Right? It's fascinating.
But there's a whole hierarchy. There are guys that have been doing this for 35, 40 years.
Did you get like the Grand Poobah hat with like the horn? Like what is the...
I didn't. Well, my hat's huge.
No, but like once you get to like 30, 40, 50 years, is that designated or when's the top?
It's all, I don't know. I think the biggest one that I saw was blue. There might have been a gold, and I don't know all of the tiers exactly, but it's pretty. It's fun. It's engaging, and it's great networking. It's great helping out the kids. It's great with Detroit and just being one with the community and helping Detroiters smile and just watching them all. It's really.
On behalf of me and Randy, we appreciate you didn't come in makeup. I would have been, I may or may not have been scared. I may or may not have a, yeah, that's one of my things.
Oh, you scared, Klaus?
I am totally.
Oh, doggone it. Then I should.
If you ever meet my wife, she'll tell you a story. There was Roscoe the clown. I'll never forget him. And he came up to me and was like, "Oh, look at the couple." And he did a balloon trick. And I'm like holding on to like her hand, like I'm on the edge of a roller coaster. Yeah, it's a thing. But hey, I can't thank you enough for coming to the studio, hanging out with us, Todd Loiselle, CIO, National Food Group. If you're a seller, don't hit him up on LinkedIn. If anyone else, feel free. We'll put his information in the show notes. But thanks again for hanging out. We sincerely appreciate it. Great content.
Thank you both. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk with you guys.
Cool. Well, we're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it. I didn't. It only took, 3 episodes?
3 in a row?
We just started recording here. Yeah, because we were remote forever.